Hi everybody, welcome to the daily vlog. I'm Gary.
And I'm William.
And today we're going to talk about where we get our news from. There's been a lot of news happening the last...
It seems like every day there's news.
Constantly news.
There'll probably be news tomorrow.
They actually have papers that come out every day that are just newspapers. There's a lot of world events going on right now. Not very cheerful world events, but it begs the question is, where do we get our news from? These are old events, right? Things happening in the Middle East, things happening in Korea. We've gone on for a long time. But nowadays we get our news from different sources. Where do you get your news from?
I generally don't watch the news.
So no TV?
Usually not. I mean, in the morning I'll check the weather because I like to see what the crystal ball has said the weather might be.
Yeah.
But for news heads on TV, they don't give you context. And I know you're talking about the big story in the Middle East. They don't. The reporters aren't any smarter than the rest of us, and they kind of go by their own preconceived notions.
So where do you get your news?
I read newspapers, magazines.
Online or the actual paper?
Online, and lots of blogs.
Lots of blogs and newspapers. What newspapers do you like?
I like the Rocky Mountain News.
Rocky Mountain News,
because
okay.
They have
one of our two papers here in Colorado.
Yeah. What are some other things? I read National Review.
Okay.
Time Magazine, just for the fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. How about you?
Well, I get a lot of my news. I also don't watch too much on TV. When something's going on that's breaking news, I put on one of the cable stations.
Yeah, it has to have cool pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for actually more in-depth news, I do everything online, and I check the. I basically have my Yahoo, which I've been using for like 10 years now, set up to give me the news sources I like. And for a lot of the news articles, especially international news, I go straight to like Reuters, which of course is what you're reading in the papers mostly. And then I also have it give me AP,
so
Reuters.
You use Yahoo as more of a headline service.
Yeah, well, now they call it an aggregator. That term didn't
aggregator.
exist back before. Now it's actually, I can have RSS feed. So I actually have some blogs and stuff on there too.
My families have been aggregators for generations. I think we have a farm in Illinois. We have a ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I found out that happens also. If you go down to Florida and you see a gator in the water and you hit it with a stick, that really aggregator.
Yeah, it does. They have weird stuff down there. They spray paint bunnies purple.
I've heard. So I'm getting my news from a variety of sources, and both the Denver Post and the Rocky Mountain News are in that list, so I see their headlines.
I don't like the Denver Post because it's all opinion, even on the news pages.
Okay.
It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating to read.
Yeah, I do one of the TV stations here, 9 News, and the Denver Post and the Rocky Mountain News, mostly for their local news coverage, because of course you can't get that through the national sources. And then I do basically straight from Reuters and AP and such for that. And then I also go to sites like Slashdot and Dig for technology-oriented news. But, But they bleed over into world news as well.
Yeah.
For instance, I was very interested in reading all the various articles about the Intel plant in Haifa and how the Intel plant is being affected by everything going on in Israel. So that's basically do it. Not much TV, not much on the paper newspapers. I read the same material.
Well, they tend to repeat each other.
Yeah.
I mean, you read one story, you've read the next.
Mm-hmm. So. And I don't really go in for the more in-depth, more of a breaking news type of guy. So by the time the story is old enough to actually, and then I've written a large magazine article about it, I've usually absorbed most of the pieces from reading breaking news stories.
My feeling is, how much do I really need to know? It's so far out of my sphere of influence that, nothing really I can do about it. So I don't want to get all fired up about stuff.
That's true, but I do like to, we both like to stay up on what's going on.
I like to read news that's like 100 years old. What was Teddy Roosevelt doing on this day?
I have a book. I have a book. My mother got this for me. It's the Philadelphia Inquirer from Civil War. Yeah. And it's this big format book, and you open it up, and it's front pages from the Philadelphia Inquirer during the Civil War, and they'll have commentary.
Before this ends, I just want to say, because a lot of stories repeat themselves, and you can read old news and go, hey, that's kind of happening now, and that way you've already heard it before, and why watch the news if you've already heard it?
Well, also, the whole thing is a lot of stories repeat themselves.
Like what?
Well, just in the newspaper, they do.
There's no way there's ever been a fight between Israel and Lebanon. It's never
Really?
happened.
Well, I mean, everything's new. Like, North Korea causing trouble. That's never happened before. I thought it's very new.
I don't believe it.
Anyway, see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you.